Right, Monday again, here we go. Paul, Anthony, welcome aboard, new members. Paul and Anthony. What's this? Load of stuff from China. That reminds me, I've just got some little audio amps here for something some project I've got in mind. I've got 3 of them here. Who was it? Oh, it was Josh again, wasn't it? Audio amps, he said. Audio amps. Could I fit a transistorizer? Let's turn this man down. A transistorizer or IC solid state type audio amp in a vintage valve radio. You can, Josh, if you want to. I don't quite see the point. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that. I didn't quite understand your email. It can be done. I wouldn't do it myself. I don't see the point. You will need to get the voltage from somewhere. I mean, if it's a 12 volt amp, for example, you will need 12 volts DC, properly smooth, because you'll have hum problems. But yes, it can be done. We'll come back to that, to when Josh has contacted me again, because I have emailed him and said, what are you talking about? Well, not in those words. What's this week going to bring? Very, very cold weather for a start this week. Got the jumper on, got my thermal socks. Right, that's enough of that. You don't want to know what I'm wearing, thermal wise. So yeah, Paul and Anthony, welcome to you two. Right, let's move on. First thing up on the bench is a DAC 10 with the bat not screwed on. Now why is that? That's worrying. You know I worry when things have been got at. No back screws. What's happened? Right, with any radio, as I said, initial inspection, and you probably can't see that valve there, careful when you pull these out, is all white on top. It's obviously what they call gone soft. In fact, it's gone soft. What I shall do is use my valve extractor rather than get broken glass all over me. There we are. Oh, and someone's written on it. Interesting. Why have they written on it? H equals 3.7, T equals 5.8. Right. Looks like a new valve actually. This is straight. There's something, hang on, there's something going on here. This is right, just let me look into this. That's a strange valve. It says DR10. DR10, oh, at UCH 42. I don't know what make of, anyway, it's broken. Someone's bashed that. I've put one in, a proper UCH 42. Let's put that over there for a minute. Right, the radio is drawing current, it's drawing power there, is that, yeah. So something, let's put that up there, look. I always put things away. Do you know if I use anything, I've got my few set tools here, which I use all the time. If I get another tool out, I'll use it. I won't just put it on the bench, put it back in its place. Right, oh, hum. Squeaky dial drive. We've got something happening. We've got some hum. Oh, hang on. We have life. Well, I was hoping to go through the fault finding process with you. Well, I did. It's a broken valve. Presets. That's long wave. Anything on there?
Social reforms in Saudi Arabia.
Right. Well,
it might be seen commercially, but something that would make sense.
And one good thing.
So many people are vegan now.
They are, but
the loudspeaker's okay. Very unusual for these. So that's it, I'm afraid. It's an estimate, so I was hoping to go through the whole thing with you. It's on the right voltage tapping, 250 volts. The dial lights work. The chap did say, when I think he's into electronics. I had a chap the other day, he wrote to me, an actual letter he wrote to me, and he said, can I send you my radio, whatever it was. He said, yeah, I'm into electronics, it doesn't need any parts. So he put a phone number, I rang him, and I said, yeah, I could certainly have a look. One that I don't deal with, I forget what it was. I said, if it doesn't need any parts, that's fine. And he said, oh no, it doesn't need any parts at all. And I did say, it's rather odd, because normally they need capacitors and oh well, you know. I said, well, who said it doesn't need parts? You've had it looked at? Not exactly. Anyway, there we are. So DAC 10, doing estimates on radios. A chap phoned me the other day, I forgot this. got a radio, DAC 90 I think it was, blah blah blah, what's it going to cost me? I said, well, it depends. There's one end of the scale, there's the other end of the scale. Now this one, for example, everything works, the on-off switch works, the volume control's all right, the speaker's okay, the push buttons work, they want cleaning, dial glass, everything is good. All it wants to get it going is a valve. Capacitors all need replacing, of course, but nothing, nothing horrible like volume control, speaker, output transformers had it. That's the other end of the scale. I can get another one of these on the bench. The chap will say, well, how much? I don't know. Not until I've looked at it. And that reminds me, Derek, hello Derek, because he was talking to me on the phone about this the other day. Doing estimates without seeing the radio, you can't. All you can do is one end of the scale. It's either going to cost between down here or up to there. It's going to cost somewhere between that and that. That's all you can say, because I know that a few of you, not only in the UK, around the world, are doing these for customers. Setting up your own workshops and stuff and actually doing them for customers. So you can't do you could give them an idea. But like this one, also another thing I've learned over many, many years, before I email this chap, I'm going to leave this on over there in the corner for a couple of hours. See what happens. You might think, well, that's silly, not much is going to go wrong. Yeah, don't you believe it? Things do go wrong. Serious things can go wrong. Anyway, waffling on, what's next? Cup of coffee, that's what's next. No, one thing, bit of useless information, nothing to do with vintage radios, but interesting point. A friend of mine said to me, got a DAB radio, and he said, how does the clock set itself? And I said, oh, probably through internet, your Wi-Fi connection. He said, no, it's not internet radio. It's DAB and FM only. He said, how does the clock know what the time it is? Because our clocks changed the other day. His clock changed. And I thought, I don't know, that's a good question. Anyway, I found out, if you're interested, which you're probably not, DAB stations send out time signals, apparently, for your clock to set by. I don't know. There we are, you live and learn. Do you remember that Philips volume control? I don't know where I put it. That awful Philips one I showed you. Yeah, well, it's totally different and not the standard. Look, I've been sorting out some pots. I've got all these to sort out. I've got these, I found all these under the bench in a box. Anyway, that's beside the point. The thing is, several people asked or said about, you're going to get a dual pot. That's the on-off switch there. That's the on-off switch on the back. Then you've got, say, volume tone, and you've got two shafts. You've got the standard quarter-inch shaft here, and then the smaller one here. So on the front of the radio, you've got the large knob like that, which might be the volume. Then there's a small inner knob like that. So you've got two separate knobs to go on the two shafts. I never did like that design, because you turn one knob and invariably the other one will turn with it. So you turn the tone up and you're turning the volume up as well. You've got to hold one and just adjust the other, which I don't like. Anyway, that again, my likes and dislikes don't come into it. The question is, and this Philips control brought all this up, I don't know where it is. The question is, how do you replace that? You've got to get a dual pot, right, with on-off switch on the back. So you might have, say, 50k linear tone control, right, 500k log volume control, dual with on-off switch, shafts like that. You're not going to find one, are you? Let's be honest, you're not going to find one. So what you've got to do, this is the question, what do you do? What you've got to do is, there's your on-off switch, there's your pot. That's your ordinary, there's the volume control, there's the on-off switch. Ordinary, that's a quarter-inch shaft. Okay, ordinary pot. I haven't got one, have I? Well, you know what a pot looks like anyway. There's one. There are 3 tags for the volume, and then your switches on the back. That's your pot, like that. Now this quarter-inch shaft, you fit the outer knob onto it. That should go over it, all right. What do you do about the inner shaft? Where the little knob on the inner shaft. That's the problem. Right. The way to look at it is this. What's more important, the volume or the tone control? Obviously the volume. So forget the tone control for a minute, okay? Fit your ordinary pot, forget the tone control, fit your ordinary pot, wire up the on-off switch as it should be, and the volume control, okay? Fit that. As I say, the outer knob will go over there, the inner knob won't. You can either file down this shaft here, like that, to stick the second knob on. All right, a lot of work, but that would be a nice way of doing it. You can't put it in a lathe because you'd have to have the pot itself and that in the chuck, which would crush it. You can't have it. Yeah, you can't put that in a lathe, can you? You've got to just spend ages filing this down, getting that central, of course. Otherwise, the inner knob's going to do that as it goes round. Oh, the other way is this is the outer knob with a 1/4 inch hole in it. Okay, that's the inner knob. Oh, would be smaller, obviously. That's the inner knob with a small hole in, which doesn't go right through, obviously. What you can do, which is what I've done in the past, is drill that out. Don't go right through, otherwise it's going to stick. You know what I mean? Carefully drill that out so it'll fit over the 1/4 inch shaft. And then what I do is, this sideways now, there's the outer knob, there's your inner one that you got on, glue the two together. You might have a separate grub screw for it. Well, no, this one you won't now, you've drilled it out. Glue the two together. So from the front of the radio, as far as anyone can see, it's just the same as it was. Which either knob which you turn, it works the volume. That's the way, one way around it. The thing is then, what do you do with the tone control? Well, you can either get a separate pot and stick it on the back panel, which I don't like, I wouldn't do that. But if you really want a tone control, stick it on the back panel or wherever. Well, there is nowhere else, is there? Or have a preset tone control inside the radio, set it for about halfway, and leave it at that. Or don't have a tone control at all. Have if your tone control is, say, there's the pot and a capacitor, say that's 50k. Well, find a resistor. Right, this is the tone control. Normally, there's only 2 connections on it. That's the 50k pot. We'll stick a 25k resistor in place of it, in place of that pot. So normally you would have, say that's it there, normally you'd have 2 wires for the tone control, right? There's your 50k. Take those off and put a 25k resistor across there. You see what I mean? It's all, if you like, it's all a bodge. But what do? You've got a nice radio. It's not only Philips that do this. There are other makes, so it's predominantly Philips and Stella, which are Philips anyway. But there are other makers. GEC, isn't there? There's a nice GEC radio with VHF. I've seen a few of those in my time in the past. They've got this arrangement. What do? If you can't repair the dual control, you can't get one. What do? I was showing a friend of mine the other day that Philips pot. I didn't give it to him. Perhaps he stole it. No, of course he didn't steal it. I've just lost it. He said he knew a chap that worked for Philips. I'm going back now, decades. He worked for Philips, and this chap said the reason Philips did all this, I don't know if this is true or not, it's only kind of hearsay, is that you had to order parts from Philips. That weird volume control, you can't get it. You couldn't go to Radio Spares or one of the other suppliers. If it's Bush, HMV, Decca, Marconi, all the popular makes, Echo, you order a pot from Radio Spares or another supplier. Philips, you've got to go to Philips for the part, and it's expensive. That's the way it was. I remember a friend of mine had a car, I forget what make it was, and he just wanted one part for it, for the heater. I forget what I think it was just the motor for the heater fan or something. He had to have the whole heater assembly, which was like £200 or £300 or something done. But he wanted the motor. Anyway, he found his own motor and sort of bodged it in and replaced it. But that's the sort of thing. All these pots here, from Radio Spares. I bet this lot was from Radio Spares back in the day. They'll fit most makes, but not Philips. Just having a quick look at this radio. This actually is just one that can't be done. Well, I say can't. IF transformers have had it. It's such a shame. And to replace them, well, I don't know. I gave the customer kind of maximum price, and sort of no. It basically, to replace the IF transformers would be quite a job. But I made a little video clip just to show you around under the chassis. Sorry it's a bit blurred, I'm not quite sure why. This is underneath the chassis. What we've got here is this is 2 shortwave bands and medium wave. It's an export radio. I think it's made by Amplion. Yes, Amplion, what is it, U33. So you've got 3 oscillators. There's the oscillator coils and they're the oscillator trimmers, okay? So you adjust these to get the dial reading correct. This side, this is the aerial side. So you adjust these for maximum signal. Find a weak station, tune medium, short wave. You've got to find out which is which. Of course, I discovered the medium wave at the bottom here, and these are the short wave ones. So on medium wave, put the dial sort of halfway round the scale, tune this up for maximum smoke, as they used to say. This is interesting how they put the capacitors in these kind of sleeves. They're like waxed, I don't know what they are, material type sleeves. It's strange. Look out always for, you see this resistor here, this has been cooking at some stage. Look, it's black. That's HT smoothing. Look out for things like that. That one's okay. These are very old, the body tip spot type, but that's okay. There's a capacitor that's been replaced here, look, but you see this? I haven't replaced it. Look, there's something coming out of it. That looks like as if that's been getting hot, that one. So that's faulty. There's something oozing out of the end there, which isn't good at all. So there we are. That's the Amplion U33. Quite a nice little radio. The trouble is it's mains dropper, so it's live chassis, which is another reason that perhaps it's not really, I say not worth spending money on. The cabinet isn't in good shape. Yeah, it's difficult. It's one of those sort of in-between cases, isn't it? And you wouldn't get the original IF transformers, obviously. The only way to do it would be to find, I don't even know what the IF frequency is, but you know, find out what the IF frequency is. Try to find transformers from another radio, a scrap radio, because that means scrapping another radio. See if you can fit them on the chassis somehow. It wouldn't look good because obviously they'd be totally different physically. Hope that they're all right electrically. You might have to adjust the circuitry here and there. It's just too much work, you know. It's a shame. I've just remembered something that might be of interest. You know, before we've talked about when is a radio scrap or not scrap, you know, when do you chuck one away or whatever. I was reminded of this the other day, and I've just remembered it. A friend of mine who worked for himself many years ago, a radio and TV engineer, he had a customer bring a radio to him. Okay, the chassis had been, apart from the tuning capacitor, the dial on the front, but it had been stripped bare. IF transformers had gone, valve bases, everything had gone. And yeah, this chap's, he phoned the customer and he said, well look, I've just taken the back off your radio and there's nothing in it. And the customer, you know, went to the workshop and had a look. Nothing in it at all apart from this chassis. And the customer said, but I want it done. This is sentimental, you know, some family heirloom or whatever. I want this done. So my friend said, well, I'd have to build a radio on this chassis. And he did it. I don't know what he charged the customer. It took him a long time, but he built a radio virtually from scratch, which is what we did at Tech, you know, the old technical college of City and Guild stuff. Many decades ago, goodness me. So I suppose if a customer brings you an empty cabinet and says, look, I want this working, this radio, there's nothing inside, not even a chassis, sheet of aluminium, we used to do this a lot in the old days for building transmitters and amateur radio gear, sheet of aluminium, make your chassis, you know, bend the aluminium, cut it, bend it, make your chassis, drill out your valve hole bases and all this. You could actually build a radio from scratch and put it in a customer's cabinet. So when is a radio scrap? Well, only when there's no chassis or cabinet. You haven't got a radio. Right, it really is the end of the week now. Got the go ahead on the DAC 10 there. So I shall start on that on Monday morning. I found the Philips volume control and on-off switch, the pot, by the way. Yeah, I didn't think I'd thrown it away. I want to keep that. So when customers say to me, well, why can't you do Philips? I mean, it's a radio, isn't it? It's just a radio. I can say, yeah, well, look at that rubbish. No, I won't show them. They won't know what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to lock up. It's the end of the week. I'm going to lock up and see what the weekend brings. Thanks for watching as always. I shall see you next Monday. Bye-bye.